Yahushua. Just saying the Most High in the name of His Son. That's all He's saying. Not putting them before Him. Not putting them on a higher pedestal than Him and none of that stuff. It's just honoring Him. That's all. That's who coming back to help deliver us with the angels. That says, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of Yahweh. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Have not Yahweh made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that, in the wisdom of Yahweh, the world by wisdom know not Yahweh. And that's how it is, man. That's why you have these people, they have all these books. This devil don't know about the Most High for real. I guarantee it. Like your boy Denzel said in the movies, I guarantee it. It says, for the Jews require a sign. And see, that's how people be. They don't have that faith like that. And at the water, Yahweh shall forgive me a lot of faith. I don't need no sign. I don't see plenty of stuff already anyway through the Spirit. I don't need no sign to know, hey, this is what it is. This is what it is for it. It says, for the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom, but we preach who Mashiach crucified to the Jews a stumbling block, and this is a stumbling block. It's plain to the holy, but a stumbling block to the wicked, like the scripture say in the book of Ezra. And the reason why it's a stumbling block, because most people think of it with emotion instead of using logic. When your scriptures clearly talk about, which I'm going to pull that up in another video, I keep going into this topic, that the other sacrifice was going to be done away with, and that the Most High was going to use Yahushua as the sacrificial lamb. It don't get no more plain and cut than that. But to some people, that's a stumbling block, though. They can't grasp that. They don't want to grasp that. Like, how this is one man. How can the Most High favor this man? And we'll put a precept for that, too. But anyway, it says, unto the Greeks, foolishness, but unto them which are called, both Jews and Greeks, but Mashiach, the power of Yahweh, and the wisdom of Yahweh. Let me see, let me go on to another one. Okay, let me go down. So verse 25 says, because the foolishness of Yahweh is wiser than men, and the weakness of Yahweh is stronger than men. So you see your calling, brother, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty men, not many noble are called. Because in the Most High said it, He set it up so perfect. The places where you least expect for a person to really be wise and have this full understanding like that, could be right up under your nose. But if you see somebody else that you look at as so-called mighty, a so-called a nobleman, somebody that has some status, you're going to believe every fucking thing they say just because of their status. God says, but Yahweh have chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and Yahweh have chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. Like a person, like backing up on this image right here, you look at a person like this and think, oh, this man, he got to be a noble man. He got to know what he's talking about. Look at all them books behind him. Somebody see somebody like me and be quick to judge me based off appearance. But when I actually speak, and speak on wise things, then they be confounded. That's what the scripture's talking about. It says, in the base things of the world, and things which are despised, have Yahweh chosen. So when you despised by a lot of people, your family, certain women start acting funny, friends turning on you, all this little different stuff, count that as a blessing. It says, have Yahweh chosen, and the things which are not, to bring to not things that are, that no flesh should glory in His presence, but of Him are ye in Mashiach Yahushua, who of Yahweh is made unto us wisdom and righteousness and sanctification and redemption, that according as it is written, He that glorieth, let him glory in the Lord. Goes back into that word, worship. Just giving adoration, reverence. That's all it is, man. Anyway, I'm going to just play some more. I'm going to put some more presets. I keep jumping into it, but I want the topic for this video.
Thanks for joining me, Daniel.
Thanks for having me, Scotty.
I want to first look at the U.S.'s relationship right now with Israel, with the Palestinian state under the Biden administration. President Trump was actually very close with Israel, made it very open. Has that changed under President Biden?
Well, you're right, Scotty. Things are getting very, very bad, and of course, the mainstream media of the United States is portraying it as if Hamas woke up one morning and decided to start bombing, and that's of course not the case. Unfortunately, leading up to this for several days now, with the attacks on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, etc. But the Biden administration, yes, the Trump administration was very, very vocally pro-Israel, very strong in its actions in favor of Israel. It might be tempting to see the Biden administration as being more even-handed. I would suggest that's not the case. Joe Biden has a long history in Washington, decades in Washington. He's always been a very ardent supporter of Israel. He's called himself a committed Zionist. And once back in '86 on the floor of the Senate, he said if Israel didn't exist, the United States of America would have to invent Israel because that's such a wonderful thing in the Middle East. So I think by and large, with some pressure from the progressive flank of his own party, which has been pretty much marginalized, I would say overall U.S. policy is about the same, with perhaps slightly less enthusiasm under the Biden administration.
Okay, so I have to ask you, why is this happening now, considering we have seen peace in this region, especially to this large scale, all the way back from 2014, but
that's a proud statement for them devils to make too. They would have to invent Israel. And they basically did any fucking way, because we not over there. And when I say we, I mean meaning our actual people, actual descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. It's a big difference.
The 4 years underneath President Trump, why is this happening today, 3 months? Does it have anything to do with the U.S., or is there something else happening within the region?
Well, I think a lot of things are happening right now that are coming together. We've seen the tension between Israel and Hamas, but let's not forget that the Israelis seem to be incapable of forming a government. Netanyahu has been unpopular at home. He's not able to form a government. This is all in the course of broader context, which maybe we'll talk about later, of the ongoing talks in Vienna, where the Biden administration is finding itself a difficult task getting back into the JCPOA, the Iran deal, which, of course, Biden promised he would do. We do know that Netanyahu will pull out all stops. The Israeli government will pull out all stops to prevent that from happening. And so I think you have to look at this escalation of the last 24 hours in that context as well.
So is this current conflict that's happening right now, and you mentioned obviously the JCPOA, obviously Iranian, all those sort of fit together as a puzzle. In this conflict, say that, America and Biden has obviously been pro-Israel, but obviously pro-Palestine as well as a Palestinian state. What role do you think that America is playing in, and do you think they're going to be able to stay out of it for how long?
Well, America's never been an honest broker in the Middle East. It's always taken the side of Israel. There's no question. And even the State Department spokesman today couldn't bring himself to say that the Palestinians also have the right to self-defense. He only could mention the Israeli rockets the Palestinian rockets who were targeting Israeli civilians. Well, the fact of the matter is the Israelis blew up several high-rise housing complexes, which definitely are civilians. So, yes, civilians are being targeted on both sides, but unfortunately the United States, once again, is incapable of seeing that both sides are on the receiving end of rockets and weapons.
Well, but this being said, I remember during the Obama administration, one of the accusations we've come out is that American taxpayer dollars actually went to run against Benjamin Netanyahu in his election underneath Obama, which obviously Biden was very much president. So could you actually think that, Netanyahu, Biden is a huge supporter of what is going on in Israel right now, considering he basically tried to get him ousted when he was vice president with President Obama?
Well, this shows the folly of U.S. interventionist foreign policy.
Sure.
You pick one side, and it wins. You pick another side, it loses. And
What did he say? I never one more time.
Considering he basically tried to get him ousted when he was vice president with President Obama.
Well, this shows the folly of U.S. interventionist foreign policy.
This man he might be reading them scripts, man. I give Esau a little bit of credit. Probably been reading those scripts, man. Let's see what the scripture says. Not that word, folly. I'm gonna pull a few more presets and let this other video play as well, and I'll just end this off. This one got a little lengthy. I know people's attention span be short. Now, that's in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 6. It says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. Now, who are the rich for real on the earth right now? Even though our people sit in a low place, they still have a royal mentality to a certain extent. Now, let me pull this other precept. So, book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 9, it says, I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Who going through tribulation and poverty the most? So a lot of people ain't even working right now. They collecting the PPP loans. Well, that shit done about ran out last time I heard. And the PUA loans, people were still waiting on that shit. And the stimulus, they got people crying, talking about they want to get a forced stimulus and a recurring money. So who going through that the most? It says, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them would say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Shaitan. And it's only certain people on this earth that fit that right there. So, stay alert. Pay attention to the news. Like the scriptures say, blessed is he that readeth. Read these scripts and line them up with what's going on. Because it's all coming to pass. That's going to be more than, it's going to be on the higher level than this. This is just the little warm-up stuff right for them. In the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 7, it says, and we shall have wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled. For such things must needs be, but the end should not be yet. And simultaneously, what's going to happen? Pause it. Verse 8, it says, for nation shall rise against nation. That's what you see going on right here. And if we're supposed to give reverence to Yahweh Shah, I mean, we got to just throw out all this thing. Can't even speak on none of these, because a lot of people like to bring this precept out, talking about wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes in diverse places. You can't nitpick, man. You can't pick, oh, I like this part, and I don't like that part. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There should be earthquakes in diverse places. Like, earthquakes been hitting like crazy on the West Coast, even in other regions of the earth. Volcanoes erupting, which is also another form of what you call an earthquake. You want some plates slide and that lava slide through. There go your volcano. It says, and there should be famines and troubles. And you got an oil famine seem to be popping off, which Esau playing around with that shit. That's a whole nother topic. And it says, these are the beginning of sorrows, but take heed to yourselves, for they should deliver you up to the councils and the synagogues. And I'm gonna see if I can block this out. I still got this car right here. Recently, let me see. Let's see if I can block this name. I don't want to put too much information on it. An actual council person invited me somewhere recently. I just ain't go to that shit because I was aware of the scripture right here. It says, but take heed to yourselves, for they should deliver you up to councils. And in the synagogues you should be beaten, and you should be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. Man, I got the car still right here. That's why I kept it, just for edification's sake. I ain't dealing with none of these fucking heathens. Make sure I don't show too much info on that. There you go. Read on a little more. It says in verse 10, and the gospel must first be published among all nations. That's how this word is out everywhere. So people can't have no excuse and be like, oh, I ain't hear that. I ain't know the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shah. Well, I ain't know who that was in the scriptures. Ain't no excuse. It says, but when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what you shall speak. Neither do you premeditate whatsoever shall be given you in the hour that you speak. But it's not ye that speak, but the Holy Ghost. That's why sometimes we make these videos. Like I was just planning on speaking on about the rockets and the tension that's going on over there, but I ended up jumping on this some more. Now it says, now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son. Children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. And this definitely been going on while this pandemic been happening. It says that you should be hated of all men for my name's sake. And who name is talking about? Man, he's talking about the Most High name. It's talking about Yahweh Shah name too, because people really hate that name. And I'm gonna get into that when I go into this other video. I don't want to write this out. It'll be as edifying. Now it says, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. So hey, like I said, man, just stay alert. Prophecy popping off, tensions brewing, all the other stuff that this part of this chapter mentioned is actually happening right now. So you can't say, oh, a white man wrote that book. That book was made up. Oh, they added to the book. I guess they added this and that to them. And shalom to the left.